All right, today we're going to be doing a little bit of a prank, a little bit of a stunt. We're erecting this on the side of a roadside. There's quite a bit of history behind it. And come along with me on this little adventure. Might wonder why I'm walking out of the office with a cross. You'll find out as this video unfolds. Ready? Here she goes. Tim Horton died right in this spot. 1974. I thought it should be commemorated. Right here on the QEW. Look, it's nicely framed. Oh man, that is nice. Yeah, so you asked me why we're doing this, and at first I didn't have a good answer, but I thought about it, and what I've discovered is I'm a huge history fan, and whenever I've traveled and I've been in the presence of where history happened, I get this really cool feeling. It's moving in many respects. And I wanted to share that with people. And I often, when you go and see where history happens, there's a plaque, there's some description of what happened there. And this summer I drove back and forth from Toronto to Welland a couple times, and I remembered that Tim Horton had died on the QEW, and I just, like a lot of us, we wonder, and then we do a Google search, and I learned that he crashed his car in 1974, and he did it on the QEW. I just didn't know where it happened. And it took me a little bit of digging, and I discovered an Ottawa Gazette, or an Ottawa newspaper journalist got, through the Freedom of Information Act in 2005, Tim Horton's autopsy. And he published it on the internet, 74 pages or something like that, and I had to read through there. And I learned the whole thing and what had gone down, and what happened, I guess, was the QEW back in the day wasn't 3 lanes either way with a concrete barrier on the side, but it had a grass medium in the middle. And coming along the QEW, I guess it would be eastbound, Tim Horton was on his way to Buffalo, where he was playing for the Buffalo Sabres. He was going 160 kilometers an hour, and the grass was soggy. His wheel came off the highway and onto the grass medium. It sheared the axle right off the car. The car rolled a few times. He was projected from the car, landed on the grass median, broke his neck and fractured his skull. The car continued rolling and then wound up in the westbound lane on its roof. And in the obituary, or in the autopsy, there was the police had drawn a diagram of where it happened, and there were some photographs. And I realized it was actually accessible. And one thing I've noticed, and I don't know where it came from, is that you start to see crosses on the side of roadways where people have died, and where people's their life ended in a car crash or whatever it was, and it's now a more common sight. And I thought, I just had this idea of erecting a cross where Tim Horton had died. And I think it's an underknown story. And like, I was old enough to know that Tim Horton was a hockey player. By the time I got interested in hockey as a kid, he'd only been dead 3 or 4 years. The franchises were all over the place, and it was a popular place to go. Tim Hortons now is like an iconic Canadian brand. Everyone across the country knows, but a lot of people lost in all of that is that this was actually a person and a hockey player, and he died a tragic death. We learned actually through the autopsy that he indeed was drinking and was likely drunk when he crashed his car. So I had this idea of creating a cross, and got some stickers and put Tim Horton died here. And now when people go on to the highway, they'll see it, and maybe they'll have the same feeling I have when I'm in the presence of where history happened.